We start at 12:30 with breaking news. In the last hour, the family of the Baytown student stabbed to death on campus identified the victim as Andrew Messmer, a sophomore. Now, his mother says the 16-year-old was stabbed to death at Baytown Sterling and Goose Creek CISD just over 24 hours ago.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the video. This is Justin Paul, and just wanted to show the victim of the stabbing at Sterling High School out in Texas. Definitely want to send my condolences to his family, and we do have an update. A bond was set for the teen that actually stabbed him, and they have more details as far as what happened. So we're gonna listen to this.
We do want to take you over to court because the suspect connected to that fatal stabbing actually was in court today, and we wanted to show you what happened.
It's going to be to your left, Counselor. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, Judge. No, Judge.
Good morning, Mr. Matthews. You are charged with murder, which is a first-degree felony, punished from 5 years in prison up to 99 years or life, and a fine not to exceed $10,000. The state's going to read what's called probable cause. It's just a thumbnail sketch of what they think they can prove if your case goes to trial. Under our Constitution, you're presumed to be innocent, and you have the right to remain silent. And then we'll talk afterwards about the purposes of today and what the next couple months will look like. All right? Do you understand everything I'm saying? Yes, ma'am. Wonderful.
Yes, Judge. Defendant Andre Matthews, cause number 1945034. In this case, Judge, officers respond to a stabbing at Ross Sterling High School at approximately 11:15 a.m. The complainant in this case, a juvenile, later died of his injuries at approximately 11:53. Teacher of the classroom, witness Davis, spoke to officers that he allowed the complainant to use the restroom. Minutes later, this defendant asked to use the restroom as well. Shortly thereafter, witness Davis stated he heard cries for help and observed this defendant holding the complainant in a chokehold with the defendant's arm around his neck. Witness Davis attempted to remove the arm from the neck of the complainant, but this defendant would not remove his arm. He observed blood coming from his neck and the complainant's body, able to get the defendant off the complainant. Officers began to review surveillance video from the school campus. Videos show that at 10:30 a.m., defendant and complainant were walking together, entering a classroom. This video shows that both the complainant and the defendant are roughly the same size and are cordial with each other at around 10:30 a.m. Soon after, both defendant and complainant enter the same empty lab classroom. A female student is seen entering that classroom as well. Minutes later, the female runs from the classroom and calls for help. The student in this video is a juvenile with initials MR. Witness Davis, the teacher, is seen running to that classroom, kind of corresponding to what he said when he saw the fighting at 11:15. Officers met with this witness, MR, and her parents. MR but knows both parties, this defendant and the complainant, by name and sight. She stated that she overheard this defendant and the complainant discussing a vape THC pen, that the defendant had lost his pen and was blaming the complainant for taking it. She continued that she heard the defendant then strike the complainant, looked up and saw the two fighting each other. The defendant was choking the complainant, and there was a lot of blood coming from the complainant's neck again. MR was then shown a photo of this defendant and identified this defendant as Andre Matthews, the same person that she observed fighting with the complainant. Judge, this defendant is currently 18 years old and is not a juvenile. He was arrested at the school. He was brought down to Baytown City Jail. At that point, officers began to Mirandize this defendant and read his legal warnings. This defendant said that he would not talk until he got a chance to speak to his adult sister. So at about 5:15 p.m., the defendant spoke with his sister, Kia Matthews. Officers then re-Mirandized this defendant, and he agreed to waive and speak to the officers at this point. Defendant stated that he was friends with the complainant, that when the complainant left the classroom that teacher Davis spoke about, that he followed with the intent of confronting this complainant about his missing THC vape pen, that the complainant owed him about $23 for this missing pen. 21, I apologize. And his pen was missing, and he believed the complainant had stolen it. Defendant followed the complainant to the bathroom, searched his pockets, did not find the pen, but instead found a pair of scissors on the complainant's person. He took the scissors and put them in his own waistband. Then both parties walked back to the classroom where this defendant confronted the complainant again. They walked to that empty classroom that we mentioned that we see them going into on video. Once again, he confronted the deceased about the vape pen and tried to search his pockets again. The deceased pushed the defendant back, and the complainant and the defendant began fighting. The defendant told officers that the complainant struck the defendant in the head twice with a closed fist while the defendant was crouched down. The defendant stated that the complainant was taller and bigger, which the video kind of does not show that same kind of description, and that he did not want to get beat up. He said he retrieved the scissors from his waistband, swung at the complainant with them, and stabbed the complainant what he believed to be in the eye. Then, as he puts him in a chokehold, officer or witness teacher comes in as well, Teacher Davis, and that he continues to hold him in that chokehold, gets him on the ground, and tells officers he then stomped on his head. He's then dragged from the classroom. This complainant, complainant AM, the juvenile initials, was found deceased, was ultimately ruled by a puncture wound to his neck, consistent with the scissors that were swung by this defendant. Scissors, judge, as well, are a deadly weapon that were used as a deadly weapon in this case.
All right. Do you wish to hear?
On probable cause.
I find probable cause.
Yes, Judge.
So now we're going to talk about the bond. So as you know, there's been a new constitutional amendment, and so this case is a first of its kind to deal with the procedures involved with that. So for now, I'm going to set a bond. Would you like to be heard on that?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is an 18-year-old. He's a senior in high school at Sterling High School. He has no criminal history whatsoever. With no criminal history and no troubles arising out of this, and he had his guardian is his 18-year-old sister that he did request to speak to prior to waiving Miranda and cooperating with police in giving his statement. We would request a $500,000 bond.
All right.
Judge, the state would request a very, very, very high bond in this case. We'll defer the court to what that number actually is, and at this time, the state does intend to move under 11D at an appropriate time.
All right. So what that means, sir, is I'm going to set a bond, but we're going to set your case for an 11D hearing on January 5th, around January 6th or 7th. Right now, I'm setting your bond at $3 million.
Okay, guys. Man, this is just a shame, man. This is like the second case of a stabbing at school over a vape pen. I mean, he's 18, so legally he can have a vape pen, but the victim that was stabbed, he's 16, so he's not able to have a vape pen. And from what they're describing in the initial hearing here, the defendant searched the complainant's pockets, the victim's pockets, and didn't find the vape pen. So the victim was saying that he didn't have the vape pen, and then he confronted them again, and tried to search him, and that's when the fight ensued. It's just crazy, man, that I don't know what's in these vape pens. I've never personally used a vape pen ever, but it's driving these kids crazy. Whether they already crazy or, they're literally fighting and killing over vape pens. And this is definitely something that shouldn't have happened, man. It shouldn't have came to, if they was cordial with each other. It's just crazy that it came to fisticuffs and ultimately ending in the young man losing his life over a dispute over a vape pen, a $23 vape pen, $21 vape pen. It really doesn't matter how much the vape pen costs. The point is, when are these kids gonna learn that you do not have to kill each other over shit you shouldn't even have in school? That's for one. Like, you're facing life in prison over a vape pen. You have a $3 million bond. That means if you try to get a bail bondsman, the bail bondsman has to put up $300,000 in order to get you out of jail. I think he was trying to the lawyer or public defendant for the defendant there was trying to set it at like 500 or something like that, something where they can easily get him out of jail. But nah, the judge said $3 million. And this is a very, very heinous act too. It's just like when you listen to the description of, he thought he stabbed him in the eye. He stabbed him in the neck and he was choking him. Like, not just that the stab was enough to take him down, but he was choking the victim and wouldn't let the victim go even when the teacher came. He had to be pulled off of the victim. So, I mean, it's gonna be very interesting to see, where this goes. They said his next court appearance was like January 6th to 7th. So, I'm definitely gonna be tuned in for any updates that happens with this. But any adults, man, listening to this that have kids, especially around this age, please talk to them. Let them know that it's really not worth getting into any type of, fisticuffs or, taking anyone's life over a vape pen. Like that's not the last vape pen that they'll ever make, you know. And these things are very, very popular amongst the youth, I see. But like I said, man, the first one that I noticed was the North Forsyth stabbing, and now this here in Texas. So, North Carolina to Texas, it's a thing. That these guys are like they're very territorial over their vape pens, and it just doesn't make any sense. Because this is again something that you shouldn't even have in school. You shouldn't be walking around vaping in school. And I'm not sure, how many more kids are going to have to get into the same situation and stuff like that. But, again, this kid is 18. So, at 18, you can go buy those type of things. But to think that the 16-year-old had it, then you checked his pockets, which, what authority do you have to check someone's pockets? You know what I'm saying? You was trying to like intimidate them, and you felt that he had it. You didn't find it on the first check. What make you think you was gonna find it on the second check? And the thing is, it sounds like the defendant took the scissors from the victim, and so the victim felt like he had to have some scissors on him in order to protect himself. That speaks volumes. Again, man, it's gonna be very interesting to see where this goes. Very terrible case, man, and it's very, very sad. I was seeing something as far as the girlfriend of the victim, doing protests because they're saying that their school isn't as safe as it should be, and that the school district isn't really doing anything to, prevent these type of things from happening in that school. So, they're gonna have to take a long look at the safety of that school and all the schools within that district. Because, the sad part about this is that it just influences others to get the same type of idea. And then you wind up in an Orange County jail jumpsuit facing life in prison. Or even worse, because this is Texas, so it could be even worse. All over a vape pen, you know. Again, my condolences to the family of the victim. 16-year-old, more than likely had a whole lot of life ahead of him. Could have been anything out here in the world, especially that young. You have so many opportunities ahead of you, just don't understand. And it's like none of this is worth it, you know. It's not worth it. And you know, if you felt like he had something of yours, why didn't you approach a teacher and say, "Hey, I feel like he has this." The teacher can go about doing the search. And then, I mean, you probably didn't do that because you knew you was gonna get in trouble for having a vape in school. Because I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to have vapes in school. But again, we'll have to see what happens. This case again starts around like January 6th or 7th when they'll have the next court appearance. His this individual, his bail is set at $3 million. So just fucking terrible. But I'm gonna go ahead and close out. If you guys like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.